Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Introduction. Phil Knight, the co-founder of Nike, shares his riveting journey in Shoe Dog, a memoir that reveals the roller coaster story behind one of the most iconic brands in the world. This book is not just about business. It's a tale of courage, hustle, and deep belief in a crazy idea. It teaches you that success isn't instant, smooth, or certain. It's messy, painful, and often misunderstood. This memoir is especially inspiring for Indian youth, entrepreneurs, and dreamers who face societal pressure, financial limitations, or fear of failure. Shoe Dog gives permission to fail, pivot, and keep running, just like Nike's founders did. Chapter 1. Preface. Why must we hear the untold side of every success story? Seek a calling. Phil Knight begins the memoir not with success, but with chaos. He wants readers to see the reality behind building a business, not the glamorized version. He talks about fear, risk, uncertainty, and obsession. This chapter sets the tone. The story of Nike isn't a fairy tale. It's a raw, emotional roller coaster. He believes business isn't just about money or competition. It's about creating meaning. Phil invites readers to reflect on their own crazy ideas, those wild dreams we often dismiss, and encourages them to chase those ideas because they just might change the world. Just like APJ Abdul Kalam started his autobiography Wings of Fire by talking about failures and humble beginnings, Phil Knight sets the stage to show us that greatness often comes wrapped in doubt, struggle, and determination. Chapter 2. 1962. What if your wild idea is your true path? Just keep going. Don't stop. In 1962, 24-year-old Phil Knight sets off on a global trip with a crazy idea in his pocket. He wants to create a business selling Japanese running shoes in America. In Japan, he walks into Onitsuka, makers of tiger shoes, pretending to be a US distributor. To his surprise, they agree to send samples. He returns to Oregon with no company, no experience, but a burning vision. His journey wasn't about travel. It was about finding purpose. This chapter reflects courage. He did not wait for the perfect moment, he created it. This is like Ritesh Agrawal, founder of Ovio, who, as a teenager, traveled across India to understand the budget hotel problem and pitched his idea long before he had a formal company. Chapter 3. 1963 to 1964. How can small beginnings lead to greatness? Don't even think about stopping. Back home, Phil receives shoe samples and sells them from the trunk of his car. His coach, Bill Bowerman, not only becomes his first customer but also his business partner. They form a company called Blue Ribbon Sports. Phil still works a full-time accounting job, but nights and weekends are spent selling shoes. It's a phase of intense hustle and compromise, using family time, savings, and spare bedrooms to build a dream. This is the phase of every founder where passion outweighs profit. Biju Ravindran, before founding Biju's, started by tutoring students in classrooms with chalkboards before going digital and building an edtech empire. Chapter 4. 1965. Can belief in someone be a bigger asset than money? Problems are the norm, not the exception. This chapter introduces Jeff Johnson, the first full-time employee, who is as obsessed with running and selling shoes as Phil is. Jeff's belief and energy are crucial in growing the company. However, financial pressure begins. Phil must juggle between being a teacher, an accountant, and a founder, all to fund the company. This is a powerful reminder that early-stage success relies more on human belief than capital. The chapter also shows how delegation, trust, and shared passion can multiply impact. Sachin Bansal and Binny Bansal trusted early team members at Flipkart who had little startup experience but immense drive. It wasn't about resumes, it was about belief. Chapter 5. 1966 to 1967. How do you deal with silent power struggles in business? It's never just business. Phil opens a retail store in Santa Monica. Jeff Johnson manages it brilliantly and helps build customer loyalty. But as success grows, tension builds with Onitsuka, their Japanese supplier. Onitsuka begins negotiating secretly with other US distributors. Phil realizes he may lose control of the product source. This chapter reveals a painful business truth. When you don't own the product, your business is fragile. Phil starts thinking about creating his own brand, planting the seed for Nike. This is the tipping point between dependence and independence. When Ola started facing problems with auto partners, it shifted toward creating Ola Fleet and invested in vehicle ownership, much like Nike began dreaming of owning its product line. Chapter 6, 1968 to 1971. When do you break away to build your true identity? The cowards never started, and the weak died along the way. That leaves us. Phil Knight realizes that Onitsuka is unreliable. The power struggles intensify. They accuse Phil of hiding inventory, and Phil realizes that continuing this partnership could kill his company. So, he and Bowerman make a bold move, launch their own brand, Nike. The name comes to Jeff Johnson in a dream. The swoosh is designed by a student for $35. The shoes are clunky at first, but they're theirs. This marks a shift from being a distributor to being a creator. The risk is enormous, but it's the only way forward. This chapter is about identity, courage, and taking the leap from follower to leader. Just like Vijay Shekhar Sharma created Paytm after finding limitations in his earlier company 197, Phil breaks away from the safety of being a distributor to become a brand creator. Chapter 7, 1972 to 1974. How can underdogs compete with giants? You are remembered for the rules you break. Nike launches its first shoe line at the Olympic trials. The product is good, but competition is fierce. With limited budget, Phil and his team focus on word of mouth, athlete endorsements, and guerrilla marketing. They pour everything into product innovation and culture. Employees work crazy hours, live in vans, and operate like a startup family. Lawsuits from Onitsuka follow, but Nike fights back. They stop playing defense and start going bold. This is the era where Nike becomes more than a product. It becomes a movement. Like Boat, which didn't have the marketing budget of JBL or Sony, but used social media and influencer marketing to build a cult following, Nike too outsmarted giants with creativity and hustle. Chapter 8, 1975 to 1977. What do you do when your biggest threat is not a competitor, but the government? Grow or die. Nike grows fast, but fast growth comes with complications. The US Customs Department accuses Nike of undervaluing imported goods, demanding millions in back taxes. This could destroy them. Phil is furious. He feels targeted. But rather than fold, he gathers legal help, rallies his team, and doubles down. Meanwhile, internal systems are still chaotic. Warehouse overflow, phones ring unanswered, and stress is everywhere. Yet, no one gives up. This chapter is about fighting bureaucracy, finding strength under pressure, and realizing that the biggest challenges often come from where you least expect. Many Indian startups, like Zerodha and Razorpay, had to battle regulatory blocks, like RBI and SCBI audits, yet they pushed forward with compliance and innovation rather than shutting down. Chapter 9, 1978 to 1980. Why is belief stronger than strategy? Belief is irresistible. Nike is now a rising force. Revenue crosses $140 million. But success breeds internal pressure. Phil begins formalizing Nike's structure, bringing in professionals to lead departments. He struggles with this shift, from scrappy founder to organized CEO. But what keeps Nike alive is belief. Every person, from warehouse workers to executives, believes in the mission to make athletes better. Phil's personal life becomes more complex too, but he learns that his leadership must evolve. He also starts imagining a world where Nike exists beyond him. When Infosys started growing exponentially, Narayana Murthy had to shift from being a doer to a delegator. His belief in values, people, and systems helped Infosys become a global brand, just like Nike. Chapter 10. Night, 1980. What will you regret more, failing or not trying? So that morning in 1962, I told myself, let everyone else call your idea crazy. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't even think about stopping until you get there. This reflective chapter dives into Phil Knight's internal world, the fear, doubt, and quiet courage that shaped him. He calls these the nights, dark periods where he didn't know what was right. Despite success, those moments of uncertainty still visit him. But he has no regrets. Starting Blue Ribbon Sports, then Nike, was a gamble, but it was the right one. He emphasizes that meaning in life doesn't come from playing it safe, but from chasing something greater than yourself. This chapter is poetic and emotional, capturing the soul of entrepreneurship. Like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who chose dreams over comfort and pursued missile science despite opposition and fear, Phil chose his calling and never looked back. Chapter 11. 1980 Part 2. When success arrives, are you truly ready for it? There's a kind of exuberant clarity in that knowing that this is the only path. Nike is now public. The company that once operated out of the trunk of Phil Knight's car is now listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The IPO brings instant wealth to Knight and his team. But with money comes confusion. Phil reflects deeply on whether money changes people or just exposes who they are. He questions the cost of success, strained relationships, personal health, and a sense of purpose. The glow of success feels short-lived. This chapter is about identity beyond victory. Phil realizes that success is not the end. It's just a checkpoint on a longer road. Like Kunal Shah, founder of Freecharge and CRED, who made millions from Freecharge exit but continued building, proving that creators are driven not by wealth but by meaning. Chapter 12. Growth. What happens when your dream becomes too big for you alone? Life is growth. You grow or you die. With success comes scale. Nike is now expanding globally, with thousands of employees and customers. Phil struggles to stay connected with every department and decision. He hires professionals, delegates more, and lets go of daily control. But letting go doesn't come easy. Mistakes are made, culture shifts, and new pressures arrive. Phil has to become a different kind of leader, less of a doer and more of an enabler. He learns that vision must be shared, not owned. This chapter explores the painful but necessary transformation from entrepreneur to leader. Bhavish Agrawal, Ola, faced similar dilemmas when Ola expanded rapidly. He had to move from founder mindset to CEO mindset, balancing innovation with scalability and structure. Chapter 13. Nike vs. the government. How do you fight giants that don't play fair? The government has no competition. You do. The US customs case escalates. Nike is accused of misdeclaring import values and may owe millions in back taxes. Phil feels persecuted. He sees it as an attack on entrepreneurship itself. He hires lawyers, starts a media campaign, and takes the case to court. Against all odds, Nike wins. But the battle leaves scars. This chapter is about standing up to systems that suppress innovation. Phil learns that winning isn't about being stronger, but about being unbreakable. The emotional and financial toll is massive, but the victory cements Nike's place in business history. Paytm faced similar regulatory backlash during demonetization and its IPO. Yet, Vijay Shekhar Sharma stood firm, defended the vision, and survived through strategy and resilience. Chapter 14. Team and Culture. What kind of people do you need to build a legacy? You can't build a brand without weirdos. You need believers, dreamers, misfits. Phil looks back at his core team, the butt faces, as they jokingly call themselves. These were not traditional corporate professionals. They were athletes, misfits, rule breakers. But what united them was passion and belief. They weren't there for money. They were building something greater. This chapter is an ode to the power of culture in shaping companies. Phil realizes that more than shoes or ads, Nike's real advantage is its people. They created a culture of hustle, honesty, humor, and heart. It was never about hierarchy. It was about belief. Like Joho Corp, which intentionally avoided hiring only from elite colleges. Sridhar Vembu built a team of passionate rural minds, trained them, and created a billion-dollar product company grounded in trust and shared values. Chapter 15: Legacy. When your journey ends, what do you want to be remembered for? It's never just business. It will never be just business. Phil Knight reflects on the long road, from a young man with a crazy idea to the founder of a global brand. He admits mistakes, personal and professional, but finds peace in knowing he gave everything. His message is clear: chase your calling, not comfort. Business isn't just about money. It's about creating something meaningful. Nike wasn't a product. It was a spiritual mission. The memoir closes on a deeply personal note, urging readers to stop overthinking, start doing, and never settle for a life unlived. Dhirubhai Ambani is remembered not for Reliance's market cap, but for transforming how middle-class Indians saw business. Like Knight, he showed that dreams, no matter how wild, are worth pursuing with full heart. Chapter 16: Reflection. What do your failures teach you that success never can? Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. Phil begins to reflect on the roller coaster ride of building Nike. Now older and more philosophical, he recounts the heartbreaks, losing lawsuits, losing close people, nearly losing Nike multiple times. But he emphasizes that it was the failures and missteps that made the journey meaningful. He also talks about his relationship with his father, who finally came around and told Phil he was proud. That moment meant more to Phil than any IPO or magazine cover. This chapter is deeply emotional. It captures the silent victories that matter more than money or fame. Ritesh Agrawal, Ovio, faced massive criticism and operational failures, but his reflections on mentorship, family, and perseverance mirror Knight's emotional honesty. It's not about never falling, it's about rising with purpose. Chapter 17: What we built. Is your company just a business or a belief system? We were trying to build a brand, a feeling, a mindset. Phil recounts how Nike evolved beyond just shoes. It became a culture, a mindset, an emblem of effort, rebellion, and victory. The brand stood for more than commerce. It reflected movement, change, and freedom. He shares moments from campaigns that touched hearts, notably the ones that honored everyday athletes and underdogs. This chapter is a tribute to what Nike came to represent, thanks to years of values-first leadership. For Phil, Nike isn't just what he did, it's who he became. Tata Group, particularly under Ratan Tata, isn't just a conglomerate. It's a belief in integrity, trust, and purpose. Like Nike, Tata's brand evokes emotion, not just economics. Chapter 18: The Personal Cost. What do you sacrifice for greatness? And is it worth it? I tell men and women in their mid-20s not to settle for a job or a profession or even a career. Seek a calling. Here, Phil admits the personal costs of building Nike. Missed family moments, strained relationships, relentless pressure. He talks about the loss of his son, Matthew, a tragedy that changed him forever. He wonders whether the price he paid for success was too high. But he concludes that pursuing one's calling, despite everything, is worth it. This chapter hits deep. It's not just about business anymore. It's about the human journey of meaning, love, grief, and legacy. Many Indian entrepreneurs, like Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, faced loneliness and sacrifices while building legacy businesses. True greatness demands something deeply personal, and not everyone can bear the cost. Final chapter: Shoe Dog. What story will they tell about you when you're gone? You measure yourself by the people who measure themselves by you. In the final chapter, Phil brings everything full circle. He looks back not as a billionaire, but as a shoe dog, a craftsman obsessed with perfecting the art of the shoe. He explains that a shoe dog is someone who lives for the product, the struggle, the story. Phil urges readers to be brave, curious, and relentless in chasing their crazy ideas. The world may not understand at first, but that's how legacies begin. The memoir ends with grace, humility, and a clear message. Just do it, especially if it scares you. Like Dr. Varghese Kurian, the milkman of India, who lived for a cause, not applause. His quiet persistence made India the world's largest milk producer. Like Phil, he was a craftsman, a builder with a mission. Small Blue Diamond highlight points key takeaways from Shoe Dog. Times chase a calling, not just a career. Times entrepreneurship is about fighting battles you can't predict. Times true culture is built by misfits, believers, and weirdos. Times every failure contains the blueprint of a future success. Times risk is the only path to reward, and discomfort is a sign of growth. Times build something that represents you, not just what sells. Times legacy comes from love, not logic.